You're not going to believe what's happening behind the scenes right now in New York. While most fans think the Knicks are done making moves this offseason, I'm here to tell you they're not. In fact, what's coming next might be their smartest move yet. And no one's talking about it. There's a name floating under the radar. A player who fits this roster perfectly. A player who could solve a key rotation issue, help this team defensively, and even stretch the floor. He's still available. He hasn't been signed, and the Knicks could get him for the veteran minimum. That's right, the vet minimum. In this video, I'm going to break down why this move makes so much sense, how it fits into the Knicks' bigger strategy, and why it could be the final piece of a real championship puzzle. You're going to want to stick around for this, because if this happens, the Knicks might shock the entire league all over again. Let's get into it. When it comes to free agency, the New York Knicks have been operating at an elite level. They've already made strong moves, signing Jordan Clarkson and Gerson Yabusele, but it appears that Leon Rose and the front office are far from finished. And now, league insiders are buzzing about a potential move that could be the most underrated yet. The Knicks are advancing toward signing veteran big man Chris Boucher to a vet minimum contract. This would be a major steal. Let's take a step back. The Knicks have limited financial flexibility due to their current cap situation. With only one roster spot left and very little room to maneuver, the expectation was that New York might just wait out the market. But Leon Rose is not the type of executive to sit back and wait. He's proactive, calculated, and always one step ahead. After clearing cap room with some creative reworking of contracts, including how they structured Gerson Yabusele's deal, the Knicks now have a prime opportunity to add one more impact player to this roster, and all signs point to Chris Boucher. Now, Boucher isn't just another name on the free agent list. He's a long, athletic, versatile big who brings rim protection, perimeter shooting, and a level of defensive energy that fits perfectly with the Knicks' identity. He's listed between 6'9" and 6'10", can space the floor with his shooting, and is a proven shot blocker. More importantly, he has built-in chemistry with OG Anunoby from their time in Toronto. That's not something to overlook, especially on a team that's trying to maintain its strong defensive core while adding complementary offensive tools. Let's be clear, if the Knicks can get Boucher at the vet minimum, it would be one of the biggest steals of the offseason. He checks every box for what New York needs coming off the bench. Right now, there's no true backup for OG Anunoby. And sure, they could try to patch it together with undersized wings or makeshift forwards, but that's not a sustainable plan for a team trying to make a serious playoff push. Chris Boucher solves that problem instantly. And for those still unsure, take a look at the current list of available free agents. According to sources like Sleeper Knicks on X, players like Russell Westbrook, Ben Simmons, Gary Payton II, Amir Coffey, Malcolm Brogdon, Seth Curry, and Delon Wright are all still out there. Each has their pros and cons, but when you match their skill sets to the Knicks' current needs, no one fits better than Chris Boucher. Sure, a name like Seth Curry gives you three-point shooting, but he lacks size and defense. Russell Westbrook is intriguing, but the Knicks simply don't have minutes to offer at point guard. What they truly need is length, athleticism, defensive switch ability, and someone who won't take shots away from the stars. That's Chris Boucher in a nutshell. Boucher gives Tom Thibodeau another weapon, a guy who can anchor small ball lineups, protect the rim, and stretch the floor offensively. His hustle, energy, and willingness to do the dirty work make him an ideal culture fit. And let's not forget, this is a player who was once highly valued in Toronto and who still has a lot left in the tank. Under Mike Brown's leadership, and in a structured, defense-first Knicks system, he could quietly become one of the most important bench pieces on the team. So while fans and analysts debate about names like Brogdon or Payton the smart move, the perfect move, is right in front of them. Chris Boucher to the Knicks makes too much sense. And if Leon Rose pulls it off at the veteran minimum, it might go down as the most underrated move of this entire offseason. Keep your eyes on this situation, because just like Jordan Clarkson and Gerson Yabusele, Nobody saw those signings coming until they were done. And now, with one spot left and Boucher still available, the Knicks may be gearing up to surprise the league once again. He fits this Knicks team and exactly what they're trying to build. He's still available, and for some reason, no other team seems interested in signing him. That alone feels like a sign. It's as if the basketball gods are giving New York a clear message. Leon Rose, pick up the phone and bring this man in. Chris Boucher deserves to be signed. Out of everyone still on the market, he stands out as one of the best fits for this roster. But let's entertain the possibility that the Knicks decide not to sign a wing. In that case, there are still other directions they could go. Looking back at the list of available players, there are names worth considering. Russell Westbrook stands out, even if playing time might be an issue. Gary Payton II brings elite perimeter defense. Amir Coffey is an intriguing option as well. We've already broken down why Chris Boucher is the ideal fit, but other players like Malcolm Brogdon and Delon Wright offer solid guard play. Seth Curry is a sniper from beyond the arc, although his size and defensive liabilities could be concerns. Landry Shamet is another name that keeps coming up, and if you've been following this team, you already know where I stand with him. Now, if the Knicks do decide to bring in a guard, it should be someone who's already shown the ability to contribute within this system. Think back to the end of the regular season. There was a guard who led the team in three-point percentage and proved, especially in the playoffs, that when used correctly, he could defend, hit big shots, and help close out games. That's the kind of player the Knicks need to target. Someone who can contribute without demanding the spotlight, who complements the rotation, and who understands the championship mindset this team is embracing. But here's the reality. The list of available players who would actually accept a veteran minimum deal and come to New York without the promise of major playing time? It's not long. And that's exactly why, in my mind, it still circles back to Chris Boucher. If the Knicks can't lock him in, then sure, look toward the guard market. Maybe Landry Shamet, maybe even a veteran like Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook. You might not love every name, but each of them brings something the Knicks could use right now. Shooting, defense, leadership. These are the tools needed to compete for a title, and that's the goal. The Knicks are thinking championship. That's why they hired Mike Brown. That's why they signed Jordan Clarkson. That's why they went out and got Gerson Yabusele. Every move has been calculated, strategic, and focused on building a team that can make a deep playoff run. So, with this one final roster spot open, you can be sure that Leon Rose and the front office are planning something significant. They're not just filling space. They're going to add someone who can truly make an impact. Now, the question is, who will it be? Let me know what you think about all these off-season moves the Knicks are making right now. Is Chris Boucher the missing piece, or should the team shift focus to another available veteran? The conversation is wide open, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until then, we wait. And if we've learned anything this summer, it's that when the Knicks make a move, nobody sees it coming until it's already done. So when you take a step back and look at everything, the moves already made, the one open roster spot, the limited options available, and the level of precision Leon Rose has shown all offseason, there's really only one conclusion to make. Chris Boucher isn't just a smart target. He's the right target. He fits the system, fills a positional need, complements OG Anunoby, and comes at a price that makes this one of the most high-value moves the Knicks could pull off. And if for whatever reason it doesn't happen, the Knicks still have a chance to add a key veteran piece. Someone like Landry Shamet, Malcolm Brogdon, or even Russell Westbrook. But none of them check as many boxes as Boucher. This is the type of move that championship-caliber teams make. Quiet, strategic, unexpected, but exactly what the roster needs. And if the Knicks are serious about making a deep playoff run next season, they can't afford to miss out on this opportunity. The table is set. The spot is open. The market is waiting. Now it's on Leon Rose to make the call. Let me know in the comments. Is Chris Boucher the missing piece for the Knicks? Or would you go in a different direction? I want to hear your take. If you got value from this video, make sure to drop a like, share it with a fellow Knicks fan, and subscribe for all the updates this offseason. We're just getting started. Until next time, take care of yourself, your family, and as always, keep believing in the orange and blue. Knicks fans, what if I told you that one of the most promising young players on this roster might be gone before the season even starts? Ariel Hukporti just made a statement in Summer League, but a new report suggests his future in New York is hanging by a thread. Why is the front office even considering cutting him after what we just saw on the court? And what does this mean for the team's long-term plan, especially with championship expectations heating up? Stay with me, because in this video, we're breaking down the full story, the numbers, the politics, and why this decision could come back to haunt the Knicks. Trust me, once you hear the full context, you'll have a very strong opinion about what the Knicks should do next. Let's get into it. What just happened in Las Vegas may not shake the Knicks' season yet, but it certainly shook the conversation. Ariel Hukporti made a statement. He was active, physical, and imposing. But even with his strong showing, his future in New York remains very much in question. On today's edition of SportsCenter, several analysts broke down what could be a pivotal turning point in Hukporti's journey with the Knicks. And we're here to unpack every detail for you. So let's set the stage. While the Knicks struggled across the board in their opening Summer League matchup, turnovers, poor shooting, lapses on defense, there were individual performances that stood out. At the center of it all, quite literally, was Hukporti. Now, yes, this was just one game, and yes, it's Summer League. But performances like this are where long-term opportunities begin to materialize. For a big man coming off a torn meniscus, this was more than just box score numbers. This was about mobility, confidence, and presence on the floor. To be clear, the Knicks were soundly defeated by Detroit in their opener. Final score, 104-86. It wasn't close. The game slipped away by halftime, but that didn't stop a few young Knicks from flashing serious upside. Among them were Ariel Hukporti and second-year wing Pacome Dadiet, who caught attention with offensive flashes. Credit goes to multiple sources covering the game, including Empire Sports News, who reported that Dadiet led the team with 17 points, while Marjon Beauchamp added 15, and Kevin McCullough Jr. chipped in 13 points, along with 6 rebounds and 3 assists, though he shot just 5 of 13 from the field. Tyler Kolek came off the bench and had a bit of everything: 10 points, 6 boards, 8 assists, a steal, and a block, but also had trouble taking care of the ball, committing several turnovers that proved costly early. Still, the headline belonged to Hukporti. In his return to game action, he recorded 6 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks in just 20 minutes. And while that stat line may not jump off the screen, the impact went far beyond the numbers. This is a player fighting for a permanent place on the Knicks roster under new head coach Mike Brown, and his energy on the court didn't go unnoticed. What stood out was his movement. Coming back from an injury like a meniscus tear always raises red flags. How will the player respond? Will the explosiveness return? Will the confidence still be there? Last night, Hukporti answered all those questions. He moved freely, rotated well, altered shots, and protected the rim with authority. Yes, both teams went cold for stretches. And sure, some of those rebounds came because of that. But his instincts and timing still stood out. The ability to roll to the rim, disrupt drives, and contest without fouling. Those are the tools that could keep him around in a league that thrives on defensive versatility from bigs. And remember, this was his first time back on the floor in nearly a year. That matters. You don't expect perfection in that scenario. But what you do hope for is flashes, and those flashes were there. Still, here's the twist. Despite his encouraging play, reports suggest Hukporti's long-term fit in New York is far from certain. According to NBA insider John Hollinger of The Athletic, the Knicks haven't fully committed to Hukporti as part of their future plan. That's why this Summer League stretch is more than just minutes. It's an audition for Mike Brown, for Leon Rose, for the entire Knicks front office. And the stakes? They're higher than ever. The pressure is on for Ariel Hukporti, and if he doesn't keep showing progress, his spot on the Knicks roster may not last much longer. As discussed in a recent Sports Center segment, analyst John Hollinger broke down what's at stake for the young big man. According to Hollinger, Hukporti currently holds one of the most temporary contracts in the entire NBA. His deal, non-guaranteed and valued at just under $2 million, offers short-term security for cap flexibility purposes. But that security? It might not extend past the new year. Let's unpack why. Because of the structure of Gerson Yabusele's recent signing, just under the taxpayer mid-level exception, the Knicks have positioned themselves to still make another veteran addition later this season. And one possible way to clear the necessary space, releasing Hukporti. In fact, Hollinger outlined a scenario where New York waits until January to waive Hukporti, holds off on filling that spot for the 14-day minimum, and then brings in a seasoned veteran for the rest of the season. There's even a chance they send cash in a trade to move Hukporti earlier, as soon as December, then backfill that slot with another contributor. That's how delicate this situation is. And so, the Summer League becomes more than just a proving ground, it's an audition for survival. Ariel has to make a case for himself now. And in his first few outings, he's definitely taken steps in that direction. He's mobile, protecting the rim, and giving the Knicks some much-needed size. If we've learned anything from New York's recent injury history, it's that you can never have enough dependable bigs. Last year, Mitchell Robinson missed time. Precious Achiuwa, while more of a power forward, had to fill in at center early on. Even Karl Anthony Towns dealt with lingering knee issues. Front court depth has been a problem. And with that in mind, Hukporti's presence could be even more important than people realize. So here's the case. Why not keep developing a player who already has built-in chemistry with much of the roster? Many of the same teammates he played alongside during his best moments are still in the locker room. That's not something you can buy on the trade market. Chemistry takes time and shared experience. And yet, the business side of the NBA never sleeps. If he doesn't stand out or earn the trust of new head coach Mike Brown, the front office may pivot. They want to win now. And if that means sacrificing a promising project in favor of a battle-tested veteran, that's a decision they might make. Personally, I think that would be a mistake. Ariel Hukporti is still just scratching the surface. He's got the size, the rebounding instincts, and the defensive timing to grow into a meaningful rotation piece. The Knicks don't have many future first-round picks available, so keeping and developing the talent they already have on hand is more important than ever. That's how winning franchises operate, by finding gems and helping them blossom. If Hukporti continues to perform at this level throughout Summer League, cutting him would be short-sighted. But if his role hasn't expanded by December, he might find himself out of the picture. That's how tight things are when you're chasing titles in today's NBA. So, Knicks fans, what do you think? Should the team make room for another veteran if it means parting ways with Hukporti? Or has the big man earned the right to stick around and continue growing in New York? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned. We'll have much more Summer League and roster coverage coming up daily. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, take care of yourselves, your families, and each other. See you next time. So now, it's in the Knicks' hands. Ariel Hukporti has shown he belongs. His energy, his defense, his upside, they're all there. But if the front office is truly considering cutting him to make room for another veteran, they better think twice. This isn't just a roster decision, it's a statement about how this franchise values development, chemistry, and the future. But I want to hear from you. Do you believe Hukporti deserves a real chance? Should the Knicks bet on young talent? Or is adding another veteran the right move? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This conversation is far from over. And if you got value from this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this off-season is just getting started, and we'll be breaking everything down right here. Take care of yourselves, your families, and as always, let's go Knicks! So here's the big takeaway from today's Sports Center. The New York Knicks might just be sitting on a secret weapon, and it's someone barely anyone is talking about. According to the latest breakdown, this player could be a perfect fit for the style of basketball Mike Brown wants to implement now that he's taken over as head coach in New York. While much of the fan base has started stressing over the development of some of the team's more hyped prospects, this lesser-known name has quietly stepped up, and now he's forcing the front office to pay attention. Now, let me walk you through what was discussed. With Summer League now underway, the Knicks are back under the microscope, especially with free agency still wrapping up. The team has 2 open roster spots left to address, and those spots will likely determine the outcome of a serious battle for depth at multiple positions. We'll get into that tomorrow. But for now, let's focus on what's unfolding during Summer League. Mike Brown, as we know, likes to run a 10-man rotation. That's how he operated in Sacramento. And there's no reason to believe that will change in New York. So with that in mind, the focus shifts to how the bench will be structured. Now, obviously, a lot of us, and I'm included here, aren't too thrilled at the idea of Josh Hart being in the starting 5. So, for this conversation, let's pencil him in as a bench piece and assume Mitchell Robinson remains in the starting lineup. Of course, that could flip. There's always a chance Josh Hart ends up starting, whether we like it or not. If we project the best starting 5 the Knicks can put out, say it's Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Karl Anthony Towns, and Mitchell Robinson, then the bench becomes noticeably thinner. You've got Deuce McBride, Jordan Clarkson, and Josh Hart as your core reserve. Add in Gershon Yabusele, who's undersized for a traditional center, but plays big, rebounds well, and battles inside. That's 4 guys right there. But there's another name that started to make real noise, and it's someone barely anyone expected. Pacome Dadiet. Yes, you heard that right. The same Pacome Dadiet who barely saw the floor last year. The same guy who many thought would stay overseas another season. But he came over, and though his rookie campaign was nearly silent, the early Summer League action has started to change that narrative. According to SportsCenter, Dadiet showed up ready. Last year, he barely touched the court, aside from a quick cameo on opening night. After that, Tom Thibodeau kept him stapled to the bench. He was labeled a raw prospect, even with his late first-round selection. But now, with a new coaching staff and a fresh system, he's finally getting his chance to showcase what he can bring. And the results are catching eyes. What stood out most in SportsCenter's segment was how complete Dadiet looked. He knocked down shots. He played with confidence on both ends. The biggest surprise? His defense, one of the biggest concerns during his draft evaluation. Scouts compared his ceiling to someone like Michael Porter Jr., who, let's be honest, isn't exactly known for locking anyone up. But Pacome came out looking far more like a balanced, two-way contributor. One of his strongest performances yet came during a recent Summer League game, where he delivered across the board. ESPN highlighted how he went 8 of 13 from the field, 1 of 3 from deep, and looked way more efficient than he ever did last year at any level. Efficiency had been his Achilles heel, but now, at least early on, he's flipped that script. He ended the game with 17 points, and while he did have a few mental lapses, including a travel and one of the most obvious moving screens we've seen in Summer League so far, he balanced it out with some highlight-worthy plays. One, in particular, stood out. A massive chase-down block, swatting the ball off the glass like a man possessed. It was the kind of play that turns heads, the kind of play that makes coaches take a second look at the tape. Dadiet is starting to make his case. He's showing he can be more than just a project. Between the improved shooting, surprising defensive effort, and flashes of athleticism, he's beginning to look like a real rotation piece. Someone who could actually crack Mike Brown's 10-man setup if he keeps trending this way. And honestly, after what was shown on SportsCenter today, the buzz around Dadiet is only going to grow. The Knicks may have just uncovered a gem they didn't expect to shine this soon. And the way SportsCenter broke it down next, it got even more interesting. Pacome Dadiet didn't just score, he did it in the exact way Mike Brown is going to want his players to operate in this new Knicks system. One of his threes came off a quick trigger, contested corner shot. The kind of attempt Brown expects his wings to be ready to fire off. It might seem small, but moments like that matter when you're trying to earn minutes on a team with title ambition. The numbers? ESPN highlighted that in just 25 minutes of play, Dadiet put up 17 points on 8 for 13 shooting and 1 of 3 from beyond the arc. That's solid efficiency. And for a second-year player with almost no NBA mileage, that kind of production jumps off the page. Yes, it's Summer League, but it's also his first real chance to make an impression. And while the game wasn't a win for New York, they lost by a wide margin, 86-104, the takeaway from fans and analysts was pretty consistent. Pacome was the bright spot. Some stats sites and insiders misquoted his final scoring line, listing him with 14 points. But make no mistake, he dropped 17. And that performance has the Knicks community buzzing. It's also worth noting that a few voices brought up something interesting about the way the Knicks handled their rookies last season. While other teams, like the Mavericks with Ron Holland, gave their young guys real playing time, the Knicks mostly kept theirs on ice. Ron Holland played in over 80 games. Dadiet, barely 18 appearances all year, and just over 100 minutes total. That contrast is hard to ignore, especially when the fan base is desperate to see youth develop. Now, there's a reason for that. As SportsCenter mentioned, Dadiet was drafted 25th overall, not top 5 like Holland, and the Knicks were in win-now mode. They weren't in a position to experiment much, especially with a playoff-ready roster. But it still raises the question, could they have squeezed more out of him last year? Regardless, what's happening now is what really counts. ESPN's segment highlighted that Dadiet is finally beginning to settle in. One reporter pointed out that he looked more comfortable as the game progressed, and that's key. You can see the confidence building with every possession. And here's what the coaching staff is watching closely: progress. At 19, he's still a project, and that's important to remember. Nobody's expecting him to be a finished product, especially coming into a team where every win mattered. But if he can show growth, not perfection, just progress, he'll earn a longer leash under Mike Brown, who actually has a history of trusting rookies more than his predecessor. Last season, in the G League, Dadiet averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds, and about 2.5 assists. Solid, but his efficiency lagged behind. He shot just over 40% from the field and 31.9% from deep in 14 games with Westchester. For someone who played professionally in Europe before the draft, expectations were a bit higher. Still, the raw tools are there, and if Summer League is any indication, something may be starting to click. One thing that helps his case? His size. At 6'7", Dadiet has the frame to play as a true wing in today's NBA. And with the Knicks thin in that area, the opportunity is real. He's not alone either. Another young player, Kevin McCullough, is in the mix for similar minutes. But while McCullough fits more of a Josh Hart profile, a scrappy utility guy, Dadiet might have more upside as a true 3-and-D wing if things develop properly. So what's the bottom line from what was said today on ESPN? The Knicks may have a promising young forward who's just beginning to scratch the surface. He's not ready for prime time yet, and no one's pretending otherwise. But what we've seen in just one Summer League game, the confidence, the shot selection, the hustle, and the growth, suggests that the front office has a real decision to make. And in a season where championship expectations are front and center, having a player like Dadiet emerge could be a game-changer. That's what the analysts are watching now. He doesn't need to be a star. Not yet. He just needs to keep climbing, keep proving, and show that the Knicks were right to bring him over sooner rather than later. And just as it was highlighted on SportsCenter today, the pressure on Pacome Dadiet during the Knicks Summer League opener couldn't have been more intense. Courtside sat Mikal Bridges, Deuce McBride, and several key figures from the Knicks organization, including the front office execs who drafted him and new head coach Mike Brown, who Dadiet has yet to practice under. That's no ordinary Summer League moment. For a 19-year-old who spent an entire rookie season without seeing meaningful NBA minutes, this was a statement opportunity. Dadiet, as pointed out on the broadcast, played the fewest minutes of any first-round pick last season, a fact that weighs heavily on a young player trying to prove he belonged. It's only natural to wonder why the coaching staff never gave him a real chance. especially on a team where rookies struggled to break into the rotation. That said, he wasn't the only one. Tyler Kolek and Ariel Hukporti also never got real chances last season, and a lot of that came down to the team's win-now mentality under Tom Thibodeau. Veterans got the priority, but still, 0 development minutes for a first-round pick? That's a tough pill to swallow. Tonight, though, Dadiet made the most of his moment. He took control, showed composure, and looked confident on both ends of the court. That's something the panel on SportsCenter emphasized. This wasn't just a fluke performance. This was a player responding to the pressure in front of the organization's most important decision-maker. However, the conversation quickly shifted to another Knicks rookie who raised some concern: Tyler Kolek. All last season, Knicks fans were clamoring to see him on the court. Kolek came in with one of the biggest hype trains behind any Knicks rookie in recent memory, especially after a standout career at Marquette. And to be fair, the buzz was real. People close to the program described shades of Jalen Brunson in his game: steady, tough, and confident. But tonight, he didn't look ready. That's just the truth. SportsCenter highlighted the fact that Kolek looked uncomfortable on the floor. Despite logging the most minutes among all Knicks players in the game, he struggled with efficiency, going 4 of 11 from the field and 0 of 5 from deep. He turned the ball over 5 times and never really found a rhythm. While his box score wasn't terrible, 10 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, the eye test told a different story. He didn't look like himself. And considering he's already 24 years old, the expectations are understandably higher. Analysts pointed out that it might take a few more games to shake off the rust, especially since he hardly played last season under Thibodeau. But still, this wasn't the kind of start you want to see. There's nothing wrong with giving him time. The coaching staff will be watching closely to see how he responds in the next couple of outings. Now, before Jordan Clarkson was signed, it was fair to say that Kolek was the Knicks' only true point guard coming off the bench. Clarkson isn't a natural facilitator, and Deuce McBride, while solid, is more of a combo guard. That's why Kolek's development matters. James Edwards even mentioned this before Summer League began, that Kolek needs to show the ability to not just run an offense, but also be a threat to score. Because in today's NBA, you can't survive as a lead guard without being able to put the ball in the basket. In limited minutes last year, Kolek had a 70-18 assist-to-turnover ratio, which is solid, but he attempted only 82 shots total. That's not going to cut it at the NBA level. Edwards said it best: "We know he can pass. Now we need to see him hunt his own offense." And that's the key theme coming out of today's segment on SportsCenter: pressure and opportunity. Pacome Dadiet took his moment and looked the part. Tyler Kolek, while not a disaster, left fans wanting more. It's still early, and the Summer League is just one phase of development. But for 2 young Knicks trying to earn real rotation spots on a contending team, the stakes couldn't be higher. And to wrap up what was highlighted on ESPN SportsCenter, the discussion ended with a deeper look at Tyler Kolek's collegiate background and how that context might help explain his current situation. Back at Marquette, Kolek averaged over 15 points per game as a senior, while dishing out nearly 8 assists. He had a steady shooting volume too, taking around 11 shots a night. So the potential is clearly there. One of the points the SportsCenter panel emphasized is that Kolek's lack of aggression as a scorer during his rookie year may not be a skill issue at all. It could have been a conscious decision to fit within the structure the coaching staff wanted. Maybe he didn't want to take unnecessary risks with his limited minutes, opting instead to stick to the system and avoid mistakes. That's something young guards often deal with, especially when playing under a demanding coach. And this is where the hiring of Mike Brown was framed as a turning point. While opinions about Brown vary, and some fans weren't thrilled when the hire was first announced, the clear takeaway now is that he's someone who actually gives young players real minutes. Look at Davion Mitchell in Sacramento, a young guard who got consistent playing time right out of the gate. That's encouraging news for guys like Kolek and Dadiet, because honestly, while Tom Thibodeau did help develop players like Deuce McBride and Quentin Grimes, there's a fair question. How much more would they have grown if they'd played real minutes from day one? That's the difference now. With Brown at the helm, Knicks fans can expect to see younger talent actually get a chance to show what they're made of. And for a player like Pacome Dadiet, that could be a game-changer. As they noted on the show, Dadiet has the tool. He's got the size at 6'7". He's shown flashes as a shooter. He's more than capable on defense, and most importantly, he's proving he can create his own shot. Now, it's about opportunity, and it sounds like that opportunity is finally coming. SportsCenter wrapped with a positive tone, recognizing that the Knicks may very well have a hidden gem in Dadiet. Sure, fans didn't know much about him when he was drafted, but the way he's progressing, there's genuine reason to believe he can contribute meaningfully to a playoff-caliber roster. And that's where things were left. The Knicks' Summer League opener gave us a glimpse into what could be a very intriguing battle for minutes this upcoming season, with Dadiet making a strong case and Kolek still working to find his rhythm. More Summer League action is on the way, and the Knicks fan base will be watching closely to see how these young pieces continue to develop under Mike Brown. This new era is already starting to feel different. That's it for the breakdown of what was shared on SportsCenter today. We'll keep tracking all the latest from Knicks camp, including player development, free agency updates, and what's next as we head toward training camp. All right, let me bring you up to speed on what was just reported on ESPN's SportsCenter about the Knicks. According to one of the insiders close to the organization, the New York Knicks are finalizing their next move in free agency. They're actively targeting several players to use their remaining veteran mid-level exception, and at this stage, it looks like one or two names are clearly standing out. Now, Mike Brown's voice is carrying serious weight in these decisions. He's expected to help shape the rotation, so the front office is being very mindful of bringing in someone that fits his system both on and off the court. Here's where things stand. Landry Shamet is still in the mix. The Knicks like him. There's still a possibility he returns on a veteran minimum deal, but there's a catch. Several other teams are also showing interest, and if one of them offers a bigger role or more money, there's a real chance he leaves. It would be unfortunate, but the truth is, as much as Shamet is appreciated, he's not irreplaceable. There are other elite shooters the Knicks could look at on the market. But now let's get to the real headline. Marcus Smart. According to Stefan Bondi, the Knicks are keeping a close eye on Marcus Smart's situation. Sources indicate he's expected to become a free agent soon after finalizing a buyout with the Washington Wizards. Smart is a former Defensive Player of the Year, and someone the Knicks have had their eyes on for a while, dating all the way back to the 2023 offseason. Last season, he averaged 9 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal per game, shooting 39% from the field and 35% from deep. It's been 2 years since he played for Boston, and while he wasn't part of the Celtics' championship run, his defensive identity still makes him a player worth watching. Back when Boston traded him for Kristaps Porzingis, the Knicks were already monitoring the situation, and now that a buyout seems inevitable, New York is evaluating whether Smart still has what it takes to contribute meaningfully on a playoff contending team. He's been in the league for a while, drafted in 2014, and although he's no longer in his prime, his ability to defend at the point of attack, play a team-first game, and bring leadership is something the Knicks value highly. In the playoffs, Smart has posted nearly 13 points, 5 assists, and 4 rebounds per game over his career. That's solid production. But here's where I differ from some of the optimism. I'm not 100% sold that he's the best fit for what this Knicks team needs right now. And that's why I think another name might make more sense. Amir Coffey. Coffey has also been linked to the Knicks a few times recently, and the idea makes a lot of sense given the financial flexibility they've created. After Gershon Yabusele signed for less than the full taxpayer mid-level, New York now has room to bring in another veteran on a 1-year deal. On today's SportsCenter, they broke down exactly how the Knicks are planning to handle their final roster spot, and there's a lot of flexibility on the table. According to the ESPN crew, the Knicks still have their veteran minimum slot available, and the great thing is, it doesn't really matter how many years of experience the player has, 6 years, 10 years, 13, their cap hit would be the same, just over $229 million. That means whether it's a veteran like Bradley Beal, who has 13 years in the league and would earn $3.6 million, or someone like Amir Coffey, who has 6 years and would make $8 million. The Knicks aren't penalized at all under the salary cap. So what does that mean? It means the front office has option. They're not restricted by experience or years played. They can simply go after the best fit. Now, for a moment, it looked like Bradley Beal might be an actual possibility for New York, but that door has closed. He's heading to the Clippers. That leaves the focus on Amir Coffey, who's been linked to the Knicks multiple times by insider Tommy Beer. Now, let's be real. Coffey isn't a household name, and he doesn't bring much playoff experience. He's played just 6 meaningful playoff games, averaging 18.7 minutes in that stretch and shooting a disappointing 31.8% from the field and 27% from deep. That's not what you'd expect from a guy known as a shooter. But despite that, there's reason for optimism. Coffey has been with the Clippers since 2019 and worked his way up into a rotation player over time. And just this past season, he had the best year of his career, putting up 9.7 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist per game. Is he a strong defender? Not really, but he's not a liability either. His real value is his shooting. He hit 47% from the field, 41% from 3, and an impressive 46.2% specifically from the corner, which just happens to be the type of shot Mike Brown's system thrives on. Nearly half of his shots last year were threes, and if he joined the Knicks, that number would probably go up even more in Brown's offense. And let's not forget, Leon Rose loves guys who can hit the corner 3. Landry Shamet, for example, shot about 47% from there as well, which shows what type of role players the Knicks are targeting. From a fit perspective, Amir Coffey makes a ton of sense. The Knicks don't have a lot of wing depth right now, especially with Shamet heading to free agency. Their first-round pick, Pacome Dadiet, probably isn't ready for a rotation role just yet. Bringing in Coffey gives them that size and shooting they need off the bench, a 6.7 sniper who knows his role. If I had to choose between Marcus Smart and Amir Coffey, I'm going with Coffey. I understand the hype around Smart, former Defensive Player of the Year, playoff experience, tough defender, great locker room guy, but from a basketball fit standpoint, Coffey makes more sense. Why? Because the Knicks already have Deuce McBride and Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench. Adding Smart would make that second unit really small, and might even force Smart into more of a small forward role, which he can do, but it's not ideal. So yeah, Amir Coffey, he might not be a flashy name, but for what the Knicks need right now, he could be the perfect piece. Now, it's not always the case, but more often than not, Amir Coffey gives you that OG-like presence. Super versatile. He can play the 2, 3, and even the 4. Why? Because he's 6'7", he can shoot the lights out, and that's the sweet spot in terms of NBA height. To me, Coffey makes a lot of sense for this Knicks team. If New York swings and misses on Coffey and pivots to Landry Shamet, still a solid move. I'm a big fan of Shamet, and I'd love to see him back. But if the opportunity's there, I think the Knicks should absolutely offer Amir Coffey a veteran minimum. 1 year, maybe 2, with a player option built in. That way, if he wants to stick around, he can, or he can hit free agency again after proving himself. And here's the thing, Mike Brown's system would be perfect for him. It's an offense built around pace and perimeter shooting, 2 things that Coffey thrives in. Plus, he'd get real rotation minutes in a 10-man unit, surrounded by shooters, playing in a system that lets him play fast and launch threes. That's a tailor-made fit. If the Knicks wrap up this offseason with Jordan Clarkson, Gershon Yabusele, Amir Coffey, and maybe even a guy like Mohamed Diawara or James Anaji, or whoever impresses in Summer League and earns a rookie deal, that's a home run offseason. Exactly what needed to happen. They've beefed up the bench, brought in a head coach that fits the roster better, maybe not my favorite hire, but I don't hate it, and added 3 players who address very real needs. A shot creator, a quick trigger shooter, who can defend multiple spots on the wing, and a versatile big who can stretch the floor or play inside. Honestly, it's all coming together. Clearly, I'm hyped. I'm turning red over here on camera, thanks to the lighting, looking like a chameleon or something. But hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If not, let me know what I missed. And if you're tired of free agency talk, don't worry, we're almost through it. Summer League's here, and we've got plenty more content coming. Until then, enjoy your Friday. You made it to the weekend. Go Knicks. Let's keep building. What if I told you the New York Knicks might be one move away from forming the most dominant duo in the NBA? No, this isn't a dream. This is real. Because Giannis Antetokounmpo, yes, the Greek freak himself, is being pushed toward the Big Apple. And on today's NBA Today, the panel dropped major insight that could change everything we thought we knew about this offseason. The signs are everywhere. The hesitation, the hidden messages, the Knicks' silent strategy behind the scene. And here's the kicker. New York might already be clearing the path for a Giannis trade without even saying it out loud. In the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through everything that was said on the show, what it really means, and why this could be the beginning of something historic in Madison Square Garden. So if you're a Knicks fan, or just a fan of NBA chaos, do not blink, because what's coming could shake the entire league. Let's get into it. On today's NBA Today, the focus shifted to none other than Giannis Antetokounmpo, and what he recently said has sparked new waves of speculation around the league, especially for Knicks fans. So here's what went down, and I'll walk you through everything they talked about on the show. During a recent appearance on a Twitch stream with popular internet personality iShowSpeed, Giannis made some pretty telling comments about his future. And when asked directly about staying in Milwaukee, his response wasn't exactly reassuring. He said, probably, we'll see. And as pointed out on the panel, when someone gives a response like that, especially a superstar of Giannis's caliber, it tends to carry weight. One of the analysts put it this way: if someone offers you $1 million and your answer is probably, we'll see, then you probably aren't sold. That moment said a lot more than Giannis may have intended, and it clearly didn't sound like someone fully committed to staying in Milwaukee long-term. The show also highlighted how Giannis admitted that multiple people in his circle have tried to push him toward playing in New York. And while he didn't say the Knicks by name, let's be honest, when someone says New York and they want to win, there's only one franchise that fits: the Knicks. Brian Windhorst also chimed in with his perspective, and he nailed a key point. Giannis didn't say he's leaving Milwaukee, but he also didn't shut the door on the idea. And in the NBA, that kind of vague response, a simple "we'll see," is often all it takes to send front offices into motion. It's enough for teams to start stockpiling assets, preserving cap space, and keeping the door open for a blockbuster down the line. It's happened before. Windhorst mentioned that in the modern NBA, even whispers can shape a team's strategy for years. So when a guy like Giannis says something that uncertain, even if it's on a Twitch stream, the ripple effects are very real. And here's what makes it even more interesting. There was zero real clarity in what Giannis said. No firm commitment. No, I'm staying here. Just a whole lot of maybe. And when the panel was asked how to interpret that, they agreed. Teams are going to treat this like a window of opportunity. Toward the end of the segment, things got a little more passionate. One of the commentators broke it down in a way that really hit home. Giannis is 30 now. He's already an NBA champion. He's already one of the best players in the league, maybe even one of the most dominant talents the NBA has ever seen. But if he wants to solidify himself in the conversation of all-time greats, if he wants to be mentioned in the same breath as the legends, he's got to chase more titles. And let's be honest, based on what Milwaukee's current roster looks like, it's not exactly a championship-level group around him. Without him, that team might be in the running for the #1 pick. So what does all this mean? According to what was said on NBA Today, Giannis is at a turning point. His legacy is secure, but his future is not. If the Bucks don't make significant upgrades soon, the league should fully expect New York, and more specifically, the Knicks, to be right there in line if Giannis ever becomes available. And that was the big takeaway from the segment. Giannis has options, and people close to him are making sure he knows it. Now, let's pick up where the panel left off on NBA Today, because things got a little heated when the conversation turned toward Giannis's future. One of the commentators made it crystal clear. If Giannis Antetokounmpo ever becomes available, the New York Knicks have to be all in. And I couldn't agree more. The sentiment was simple. Aside from Jalen Brunson, every single asset should be on the table. Draft picks, prospects, even rotation players. No one else should be untouchable. And for anyone saying Giannis is washed or hasn't shown up in the playoffs, the numbers tell a very different story. One analyst pointed out that Giannis just averaged 33 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists in the first round of last year's playoffs. That is not someone on the decline. On NBA Today, they still had him ranked as the second-best player in the league, right behind Jokic and just ahead of SGA. Some even added that while SGA deserves his flowers after winning MVP and making the finals, they'd still take Brunson over him in a playoff series. Then the discussion took a fun turn, imagining a potential Knicks duo of Jalen Brunson and Giannis. Everyone on the desk agreed that would be the best pairing in basketball. One host even suggested it could rival the Curry-Durant era in Golden State. And honestly, that's not far-fetched. Brunson and Giannis complement each other's games perfectly, and it could easily be the most dynamic 1-2 punch the league has seen in years. But here's what really got my attention. The Knicks front office might already be preparing for this. The NBA Today crew pointed out something interesting. The Knicks haven't extended Mikal Bridges or Mitchell Robinson, and that's not an accident. If either player signs an extension, they become untradeable for 6 months. And if Giannis becomes available during that window, well, that would take both of them off the board. So yes, it's intentional. They're keeping all options open in case the opportunity arises. That's how serious this is. The idea is to form a new big three in New York. Brunson, Giannis, and a stretch five, likely someone like Isaiah Hartenstein, or a future piece that fits Giannis's game. We've seen what he looks like when he has floor spacing around him, and when you add that to Brunson's scoring and leadership, it's a recipe for something truly special. From there, the conversation zoomed out to Giannis himself. One panelist put it bluntly, what kind of legacy does Giannis want to leave? Is he content being the greatest buck of all time, retiring with 1 title and a bunch of all-star nods? Or does he want more? Because if championships are still the goal, staying in Milwaukee might not cut it anymore. They also didn't hold back when talking about the Bucks' roster move. One person said it outright, this team just isn't good. Chochi. Milwaukee has made some questionable choices, stretching and waiving Dame Lillard, only to bring in Miles Turner, who couldn't stay on the floor in the finals. Not to mention the other role players, guys like Kyle Kuzma, Kevin Porter Jr., and Gary Trent Jr. That's not the kind of supporting cast Giannis deserves. The panel agreed. Milwaukee is doing everything it can to stay relevant, but it's not enough. And loyalty only goes so far when it starts to interfere with your legacy. One commentator summed it up perfectly. You can't stay loyal to things that aren't loyal to your goals. And that's what it all boils down to. If Giannis truly wants to win again, he needs to be somewhere like New York. The East is wide open, the Knicks are loaded with assets, and Brunson is ready for a co-star. If Giannis makes that move, New York instantly becomes a title favorite. Toward the end of the show, the analysts brought it all home. Giannis has already done everything for Milwaukee, gave them credibility, gave them a championship, and gave them global relevance. But if he wants more rings, the path leads through Madison Square Garden. And just for fun, they joked that Knicks fans should start a GoFundMe to help bring Giannis to New York, because that's how badly the city wants it. But until Giannis says the words himself, it's all speculation. One thing is certain, though. If that day comes, Leon Rose and the Knicks front office are ready. And the NBA Today crew made it clear. The league better be watching. On today's First Talk, the panel dropped some key updates about the New York Knicks heading into the new season. And there's a lot to unpack. From coaching changes to major behind-the-scenes decisions, The direction this team is heading in is becoming a lot clearer. So let's get into everything that was discussed. First off, there's been a lot of buzz around the Knicks coaching staff, even after the big hiring of Mike Brown as head coach. According to reports, the Knicks are still actively searching for an associate head coach. And originally, all signs pointed to James Borrego being the favorite for the job. Borrego, of course, is well known from his time as head coach of the Charlotte Hornets, and Mike Brown reportedly wanted him to come in as the offensive coordinator. Now, here's the thing. The Knicks aren't just looking to tweak the current staff. They're planning to completely restructure it. While a few faces will return, the major roles like associate head coach, as well as offensive and defensive coordinators, are expected to be filled by new voices from outside the organization. They want fresh energy around Mike Brown, and Borrego was at the top of that wish list. However, as was discussed on First Talk, that plan hit a wall. Ian Begley reported that the New Orleans Pelicans, where Borrego currently serves as associate head coach, are unwilling to let him go. League sources say the Knicks interviewed Borrego both for the head coaching position and again for a lead assistant spot under Brown. But New Orleans is holding firm. He's under contract, and the Pelicans reportedly value him too much to let him leave for a lateral move. A Knicks fan even asked Begley whether Borrego turned down the job or if the Pelicans blocked it. Begley said he couldn't confirm either way, but it's most likely the Pelicans simply didn't grant permission, which lines up with how most NBA teams operate. Teams rarely allow an assistant to leave unless it's for a promotion. More money, doesn't matter. Same title, you're staying put. The First Talk crew also speculated on why New Orleans might be so protective of Borrego. Some believe head coach Willie Green could be on a short leash, and if anything changes at the top, Borrego could be next in line to take over. That makes him even more valuable to the Pelicans, not just as a lead assistant, but possibly as their coach-in-waiting. Now, let's talk resume. Borrego has been around the league. He started as an interim with the Magic back in 2015, spent time learning under Greg Popovich in San Antonio, and then led the Hornets for several seasons. Sure, his win-loss record, 148-193, isn't flashy, but context matters. In his final season in Charlotte, he led the team to the play-in tournament, and they looked promising, especially with LaMelo Ball flourishing in his system. Still, Charlotte decided to move on. After some time away from the sideline, Borrego resurfaced as the top assistant in New Orleans. That's where things stand now. And while the Knicks still admire his coaching mind, it looks like the door has closed for now. We'll keep you updated as this coaching search evolves, but one thing's clear from First Talk. New York is building something methodically and seriously under Mike Brown, and they're not going to rush any decision, even when their first choice is off the board. So on First Talk today, with James Borrego officially out of the picture, the Knicks are now shifting their focus toward other candidates for the associate head coach position. And according to what was said on the show, that list is already starting to take shape. The New York Post reported that some of the top names now being considered include Darvin Ham, Phil Handy, and Jay Triano. Stefan Bondy also mentioned that head coach Mike Brown will ultimately have the final say when it comes to picking his lead assistant. Interestingly, Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson's father, has accepted a smaller role than he previously held under Tom Thibodeau, who, as we know, was let go last month following the Knicks' elimination at the hands of the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Final. Several other assistant coaches from Thibodeau's staff are expected to remain. Darren Erman, Dice Yoshimoto, also known as Mochi, and Mark Bryant will all stick around as holdovers, but not in that associate head coach role. None of them are being seriously considered for that top assistant spot. Instead, they're staying in more defined, specialized roles. Bryant will continue working with the big men, Mochi will keep focusing on the guards, and Erman, if memory serves right, is the one handling shooting development. They even joked about it on the show, saying, "If I'm wrong, feel free to roast me in the comments." But overall, these guys are respected across the league and bring strong value to the new coaching structure. Then the conversation took a lighter turn, as they talked about a fun little Knicks trivia bit, that the team name Knickerbockers isn't based on pants, as some might think, but actually comes from Dutch settlers. So no, Knicks fans aren't rooting for trousers, they're rooting for history. It was a fun moment, but the real story picked up again when the new NBA Cup groups were announced. According to First Talk, here's how it all breaks down. In the Western Conference, Group A includes OKC, Minnesota, Sacramento, Phoenix, and Utah, which sets up a great Thunder versus Timberwolves showdown. Group B features the two Los Angeles teams, Memphis, Dallas, and New Orleans, arguably the most exciting of the bunch. And Group C brings together Houston, Denver, Golden State, Portland, and San Antonio. Over in the East, Group A includes Cleveland, Indiana, Atlanta, Toronto, and Washington. Definitely some competitive matchups there. East Group B includes Boston, Detroit, Orlando, Brooklyn, and Philly. And that leaves Group C, the Knicks group, which includes Milwaukee, Chicago, Miami, and Charlotte. The panel on First Talk agreed. This is a very winnable group for New York. The Bucks will be tough, and the Heat are always hanging around. The Bulls are in rebuilding mode, and the Hornets, well, they're technically still an NBA team, right? Either way, the Knicks are in a strong position to advance out of the group stage and head to the semifinals in Las Vegas. Last season, the NBA Cup didn't seem like a big deal until the Knicks got knocked out of it. That loss to Trae Young stung more than fans expected. And while some of the celebration antics from that game were a bit controversial, what really stood out was how much Knicks fans started to care once the team was eliminated. This time around, there's a new energy. Mike Brown is expected to push this squad to take the in-season tournament seriously. It's a chance to build momentum early in the year, especially for a team that's being watched closely under a new head coach. And as First Talk pointed out, the Knicks are considered one of the best teams in the league right now, with some sportsbooks placing them just behind OKC in terms of odds to win the finals. So, yes, expectations are high, and yes, this tournament matters. It may not be the playoffs, but it's a shot at early success and a great test of chemistry and competitiveness for this revamped Knicks squad. Let's see what they bring. And according to what was just discussed on First Talk, this is where things get really interesting for the Knicks. When you look back at how they performed last season against the teams in their NBA Cup group, the numbers tell a very encouraging story. New York faced each of these opponents 3 times and came out with a strong 9-3 record overall. They swept both the Milwaukee Bucks and the Miami Heat, two teams traditionally seen as tough matchups. They dropped 2 out of 3 to the Bulls, but that was during a stretch when things were off rhythm. And against the Hornets, well, they went 2-1, though we all remember that bizarre blowout loss where nothing went right. One of those games where you just keep betting on the Knicks to rally and end up losing money instead. There was also that chaotic game against Houston where the Knicks led by what felt like 1,000,000 points, only to have Jalen Green drain a ridiculous shot that spun around the rim forever before dropping as time expired. One of those you-had-to-be-there moments. But even with those weird anomalies, if last year is any indication, New York is more than capable of dominating this group. Most of these teams haven't improved drastically. Sure, Miami made changes, no more Jimmy Butler, now they've got Andrew Wiggins, but it doesn't feel like a huge step forward or backward. They're kind of stuck in the same spot. Chicago got worse, so dropping games to them this year would be pretty disappointing. Charlotte still looks lost, so the Knicks should clean up in those matchups. And Milwaukee? They made some moves, like bringing in Miles Turner and parting ways with Dame Lillard, but the core feel is still the same. If anything, they moved sideways. The bottom line is that the Knicks should absolutely be aiming to win this group. And it's not just about advancing, it's about getting a taste of what it means to compete for something, to lift a trophy, to build that hunger, and carry it into a deeper postseason run. That experience matters, especially for a team trying to build championship habit. Now, shifting gears to something a bit more emotional, something that was also highlighted on First Talk, Knicks legend, NBA legend, and one of the greatest isolation scorers this game has ever seen, Carmelo Anthony, has officially gotten his flowers. For the first time in franchise history, a New York Knick will grace the cover of NBA 2K, and it's none other than Melo, the cover athlete for the 2K26 Superstar Edition. For fans who grew up watching the orange and blue during the 2000s and 2010s, this is massive. Melo was the heart and soul of the Knicks for nearly a decade. The Brooklyn-born star spent 7 seasons in New York, averaging 24.7 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists per game over 412 appearance. And that's despite playing through injuries and navigating front office chaos that constantly sabotaged the team's potential. He only made it past the first round once, but let's be clear, that wasn't on him. As Melo once said, when the Knicks win, it's the Knicks that won, but when the Knicks lose, it's Carmelo's fault. And he was absolutely right. Let's not forget how he was pushed out of the league. Not once, but twice. First, the Houston Rockets blamed him for their struggles and kept him out for an entire season. Then, after a strong year with the Lakers, where he shot over 40% from 3, they still didn't bring him back, and instead opted for guys like Troy Brown Jr. Meanwhile, Melo sat while the team spiraled and missed the playoffs. Somehow, he was the scapegoat for a roster full of dysfunction. But now he's getting that long overdue recognition. And it's been amazing to watch the narrative around Melo shift in retirement. The same fans and media who once criticized him are now celebrating him. That's how it goes. People don't always appreciate greatness until it's gone. But Melo's legacy is undeniable. He holds the Knicks' single-game scoring record with 62 points at Madison Square Garden, a mark that will probably fall one day. But for now, it stands as one of the most iconic performances in MSG history. Carmelo Anthony earned every bit of this moment. 7 seasons averaging over 20 points per game, carrying the franchise during some of its darkest years, and being the only reason to tune in for half a decade. He was the guy, and now he's being remembered as such. Knicks fans everywhere should be proud, because Melo is finally being celebrated the way he always deserved. And something else that really stood out in the show was the emotional moment when they acknowledged what Knicks fans have known for years. No one should ever wear number 7 again. That number belongs to Carmelo Anthony. The fact that, since his departure, no player has dared to put it on speaks volume. Now that Melo is officially going into the Hall of Fame, there's a growing expectation and, honestly, a hope that the Knicks will finally retire that jersey next season. And look, I'll say it right here. When that day comes, I'm going to be in the Garden. No way I miss it. I'll be there wearing my Melo jersey, cheering as loud as I can. For me, Carmelo Anthony isn't just a Knicks icon. He's my favorite player of all time. Always has been, always will be. He's the reason I truly fell in love with basketball. Before Melo arrived, sure, I knew about the Knicks. I liked guys like David Lee and Al Harrington. I knew who Nate Robinson was. I even remember Eddie Curry. But it was different. I didn't feel connected to the team. And then, in 2011, I was just a kid, 9 or 10 years old, when Melo got traded to New York. Everything changed. The moment he became a Knick, I became a fan. It wasn't just about basketball anymore. It became something I cared about, something I followed every night. And it's because of him that I get to do what I do today. Talking about this team, about this game, it's my dream job. And Melo played a massive role in making that happen. His presence lit the spark. So when people ask me who my favorite player is, or why I became a Knicks fan, the answer is always the same: Carmelo Anthony. He was greatness in orange and blue, and he's one of the most disrespected and underrated stars the league has ever seen. So yeah, retire the number. He's earned it. And if you're a Knicks fan, do yourself a favor. Grab the 2K26 Superstar Edition with Melo on the cover. Show love to the legend. And if you enjoyed all this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this journey with the Knicks is far from over.